Inside the Birds is back. What's up, everybody? Geoff Mosher here alongside with Adam Caplan. And Adam, it's a pretty busy week, I would say, because there's a lot to discuss, even though there's no mini camps right now. There's an uncertain return for Eagles football. I mean, there's a lot of speculation about teams being able to return or not. But right now, it shouldn't be a busy week, but we've got some things to get into.
Oh,
We've got
yeah.
the running.
Wow.
Yeah, the running back situation, the defensive end situation, and Doug Peterson recently held a Zoom press conference, and he made some interesting comments. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah, actually, we completely changed course. We were going to do we'll give you a little hint. We're going to do this in the near future. We're going to do a complete breakdown of the Eagles coaching staff, a two-part show, offense and defense. Well, I dropped the Devonta Freeman news on the Seahawks. You've got an update on Vinny Curry. Mm-hmm. I've got some information, some other players on defensive end. I'll explain a little bit my clowny stuff because people are completely blew it last week. It's ridiculous, but I will get into that. Running back stuff, defensive line stuff, Doug Peterson. So we're like, that's a show.
Absolutely.
That is our show. This is going to be a full show tonight.
Yeah, hard-hitting stuff. First, we just want to tell our people, our loyal listeners, and we're getting a lot of emails. Thank you for everybody who's been reaching out. The last two shows that we did, the last two podcasts, I should say, on the 53-man roster projection, right? The too early one that we did one show on offense, one show on defense. Those are both on YouTube now. So by the time you hear this, the one that we did most recently, which I think was on the offense, will be up on YouTube, and both of them will be there. So if you can't catch it on the podcast platform that you listen to, you can always go to YouTube and along with our other podcasts that we've done as well. Also, Adam has been doing mailbags, so please continue to go to InsideTheBirds.com.
Yeah.
Adam recently had one a few days ago where we answered some questions, and as I always tell people, we get a lot of questions. We put a lot of preference, though, or we give a lot of credence to people who are able to give us a rating and review on the Apple podcast platform and give us a 5-star rating. Leave a question there, and we'll answer it, along with any questions on our website.
Right. Just wanted to add that I saved two questions, which they're not really Eagles related as much as they're big picture NFL stuff. So I'll put them in the next email bag. I'm going to drop that, by the way. My email bag for InsideTheBirds.com will drop every Monday late morning. I don't want to drop it at 7 or 6 a.m. Eastern because I want people to listen to our show. But don't forget, folks, we drop our show every Monday and Thursday, our podcast, Inside the Birds, 6 a.m. If you're allowed to go back to work on East Coast time, if you're not working at home right now, you can listen to it. Obviously, when you wake up, you can listen to it over your coffee. And then, obviously, we drop, as Geoff said, we also drop them later on YouTube. And you're going to see a little difference on the YouTube picture. Because now I'm in my TV studio, so you could see behind me, for those of you who are on YouTube, you could actually see kind of my office. You see Geoff's office as well. We both have some nice bookcases.
Well, yours is now looking like a professional office. I mean, you went from pictures of dogs in designer clothes to like a real NFL Network setup there. I'm just like, I got the books and the kids. And I was going to try to put some books behind me that make me look a lot smarter. But then I realized a lot of those books behind me. A lot of the books behind me, I don't read them, and B, some of them are for my wife's job, and she's in IT. So those books are like German for most people. You wouldn't even understand what's written inside.
So behind me is The Last Laugh from Vince Papale and Dennis Franks. For those of you who are old enough, might remember Dennis Franks, who was a center for the Eagles for a couple years in the early 80s. Draft guides, the great book, by the way, basketball book. I love this book, Loose Balls, about the ABA by Terry Pluto, the great writer. I
read that. It's a great book.
It's a great book. The Chuck Pagano book I read, which I absolutely loved. Some media guides, footballs. I'll show this next time. I have an Eagles helmet.
Wait. You can't bury the lead here. There's something that says Tasty Cake. That's what's captivating my interest.
Okay. So I went to a charity event. Where the hell is it? I have so much junk in here.
Over your right shoulder.
Okay, thank you.
11 o'clock.
You got to see. I actually have a lunchbox, a Tasty Cake. I went to a charity event, and they were giving out some free stuff, and I got some Tasty Cake stuff. So yeah, you know that.
So that's just a lunchbox?
What's that? Yeah, I actually have a Tasty Cake lunchbox.
That's amazing. You have a Tasty Cake lunchbox.
I know. I have some great stuff in here, man.
Oh man, I wish I had that in like fifth
grade.
Grade.
Behind, and you can't see this, but again, one of these days, I'm gonna when we have a little bit more time, I'm gonna show you sort of my office. I have an alcove. I have a very, very big finished basement, and I made it. I have a TV studio in the middle because I've done a lot of Skype. Fox Sports. I have a deal with Fox Sports radio, and sometimes they ask me to do Skype, where they want video with whoever's hosting. So I do that. But I've got a cardboard cutout of Ron Jaworski and Joe Flacco. I don't collect football. I don't collect autographs or anything, but I like unique stuff that no one else can get. I don't like autographs. So what I got is they're like giant fat heads of Jaws and Flacco. I got them like 7 or 8 years ago.
That's great.
So they're in my office. I got a Cosmo Kramer painting. I mean,
you have definitely upgraded from dogs and designer clothes.
Yes,
I gotta
there you
say.
go. So anyway,
that's good stuff. That'll definitely be a topic, I believe, that you'll see chatted about on our Inside the Birds message board. So make sure on Facebook. So make sure you're checking that out. We're almost up to 900 members. So we're trying to get to 1,000 pretty soon. So help us out. Pass it along to your friends, your families, your enemies, anybody you want. The Inside the Birds Facebook message board. Yeah, get your enemies in there. It's always good to have a good sports fight. All right, get some Cowboy fans in there so everybody can pile in on them if you want.
By the way, next month we're going to be doing something with
we're going to be doing some Cowboys, Redskins, and Giant shows with guys who cover them. Pretty cool. We always like to hint about what we're doing in the future. But on that message board, man, folks, here's the deal. Before we get our show started here, just so you understand, we are getting between 9,000 and 10,000 listeners per show. And we're almost at 1,000. So we're only getting like 10% of our listeners on our message board. We want to get 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 on there, because at some point over the next year, we're going to do a bunch of live events when we're allowed to. We were going to do one with Mike Mamula, the legendary Mike Mamula for me, the first round pick. Oh my God, he's the best. I know Mike real well. We've got a bunch of events we're going to do in the future, but we can't do them unless we get clear to do it. And we need to know that people can come. So we want to take a head count at some point about how many people are in the East Coast. Like we could tell through our analytics for Apple and Spotify and all the platforms, but we like to kind of measure it between South Jersey, Philly, and so forth. We'd love you to join that message board, and we want to get conversations with you all and get to know you. So please do that.
There you go. And if you haven't heard yet or found out yet from following us on social media, Inside the Birds is now partnering with 97.3 ESPN in South Jersey. We are occupying their football at 4 slot. So every day from Monday through Friday, you can hear either me, Adam, or Andrew DeCecco on at 4 o'clock for about 20, 25 minutes talking Eagles football and NFL football. We call it Football at 4. And then we take those interviews, if you missed them, and put them on our YouTube page. So either check us out on 97.3, and you can download their free mobile app, or listen to us on the Inside the Birds.
Within like an hour, I think you're getting it up there.
I have been having it up within an hour of the interview. So always check around 5:30. We'll be
I listened to your spot today. Good job.
Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate it. All right, let's get into the big stuff, Adam. You had some really good information out there, and it's about Devonta Freeman, who is a player that we have talked about. He's one that I personally have said I would like to see as a backup on the Eagles, although I understand the injury history and everything. But what is the latest that you can tell us about an offer to him?
Yeah, all right. So here's the situation. So not only we're an Eagles show, folks. If you're new to our show, we know not everyone listening is an Eagles fan, but we will drop news in here once in a while that that's usually connected to the Eagles, but from another team. I know the Eagles have interest in Freeman. I outlined this a couple weeks ago. The Seahawks, I know, made an offer. The offer in cash was around $3 million. It might have been a little bit less, but that's a. Now I know Freeman, who's an accomplished running back, probably would want more, but Freeman needs to understand he's a backup running back at this point of his career. That's it. Wherever he goes, he's not going to start. Chris Carson is the Seahawks starter, Geoff. So the Seahawks are unfortunately coming back from a situation last year where the top 3 running backs finished the season on injured reserve. That's right. Travis Homer was a draft pick last year, had to start their playoff game. So I
forgot about him.
Yeah, him and right, him and Marshawn and him coming back last year. Would he come back this year? People are talking about. So Marshawn is kind of like open to coming back. I guess he was on the record saying that. But the fact of the matter is,
when you look at it. Freeman is an outstanding backup running back at this point of his career. 28 years old. You really have to wonder how much he could play. But here's what he has over Carlos Hyde. He can catch the football. He had over 50 catches last season for the Falcons. But he has a significant injury history. As one team told me, another team that has who's interested in Freeman, they don't want it out there who it is. So I could just tell you that they don't value him at $3 or $4 million simply because they look at it and say, this guy's a backup. He's worth what we think he is to us. They look at him as a backup. Is he a good backup? This team said $1 million. I looked at some of the contracts. I would put the backup running backs at about $1.5 million. Deion Lewis got $1 million, is getting $1.5 million. Peyton Barber's getting $1.5 million. Is Barber a better football? Is Freeman a better football player? Yeah, he's also older, and he also has a much more significant injury history than those guys. He doesn't have leverage right now. So the Seahawks, just moving this forward here, the Seahawks are looking for a backup to Chris Carson, and Freeman once more. Mike Silver from NFL Network said that he had heard is the deal's up. Their offer is up to $4 million. That's what that means is there's bonuses
Incentives.
in there, right? Per game roster bonuses, achievement that'll get him up to $4 million. That is I don't know how in the hell he would turn that down. But I know for a fact. In fact, I'll add a little bit. They actually talked a couple weeks ago. So that to me is crazy. I don't know what he's thinking. He needs to get real. Folks, the way it works, we've outlined this. Leverage is with the clubs after the draft. Before the draft, it's with the players. It is a buyer's market right now at the running back position. There are only two good ones where you see the drop-off. It's Hyde, it's Freeman, and then McCoy the Eagles have interest in, but he is definitely looking at the veteran minimum if the Eagles are getting involved. I know they have interest in him, but I think it's the top two guys. The guys are younger than Shady, and then it's Shady as the third guy.
Well, let me ask you this. First of all, from a Seahawks standpoint, why are they trying to outbid the competition? Did they not draft Rashad Penny in the first round 2 years ago?
Here's why. It's a good question. Significant injury.
My understanding is he's probably not going to be ready for the regular season, the beginning of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, he tore his ACL, and I'm told it also has more damage to it. I don't know what other ligaments or what else happened, but the fact of the matter is he had an ACL reconstruction. He's almost certain not to be ready week one. Don't know when I don't know if they're going to. He's obviously going to start training camp on PUP. The question is, do they leave him on there, which means reserve PUP, which he misses the first 6 weeks, or do they not? Or do they just take him off of it, let him work his way back so he could come back maybe in weeks 3, 4, or 5? I don't know that. We're so far away from it. But they were so Pete Carroll micromanages his offense in terms of running the football. He's like Mike Zimmer. These guys are good coaches. Guys like that who are like, look, we're running the football. This is what we do.
Except at the 2-yard line.
Well, that's another story. Yeah, that's it. And Pete's taking responsibility for it.
I know. I'm just messing around.
But I knew that was coming. No. But that's it. That's where the Seahawks are. They want to do something. The Eagles now, let's move this to the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles, Adam, if you think about it, the position on offense they most needed to upgrade in the offseason was wide receiver. Now, no doubt about it.
They've done it.
Yeah. They didn't spend nearly anything on any free agent. They didn't buy a free agent wide receiver. Correct. And then when they traded for Goodwin, they restructured his contract big time, right? So they're not even paying him all that much. So the idea that they would even pay a backup running back upward of $3 million or even anything in that neighborhood is just insane. It's crazy.
They're not doing that. Yeah, they're. I think we reported it correctly the first time.
Nothing that's happened since. As we drop this on Thursday morning would change my mind. I just know the way that the Eagles have been thinking this offseason.
Right.
Let me make this clear for people who play fantasy football like you and I do. Miles Sanders is the guy. Miles Sanders is the guy. That's it. Period. End of story.
You know what's funny to me? It's I still see
nobody wants to believe me, but
I know we have been talking since before Miles Sanders was even drafted about the idea that the myth that Doug Peterson wants to have an RBBC, a running back by committee. No, he's only done that because he's never really had a Miles Sanders since he's been here. Now he has one, and I think what we're seeing proves our point. They're not going out there looking for somebody, not even Jordan Howardish. They're not going out there trying to get somebody who's going to take 25% of the snaps or have it divvied up 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. They're going to put the ball in Miles Sanders' hands.
At worst, for Miles Sanders, it's a 2-to-1 split on touches.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. What they want to do is they want to
have the ability, and they like a back with size, by the way. They like to do this. Similar to 2017 with LeGarrette Blount.
Mm-hmm.
If the Eagles have a lead in the fourth quarter, which this roster is so much better than last year, it's not funny. Potentially way better. It's better. If it goes like they think it's going to go, and I think they're right in this thinking, they're going to have a lead in the fourth quarter, and they're going to probably occasionally cede to the next back, and that's going to be either Hyde or Freeman. Now, Shady if they can't get the other two guys. I don't see them trading. By the way, I know the next question is, what if they strike out in all three? They're not going to strike out in all three.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trading for anyone barring the only way they would consider trading for somebody is if this wonderful opportunity came about where a team calls them, look, we're looking to move this guy. Do you have a decent grade on this kid, this player? We'll do a conditional 7th. Like those things could happen.
Right.
It's always like Geoff asked me hypothetical and clowning when I reported that the Eagles aren't interested in him. I said, sure. And people unfortunately didn't understand what I meant because the bloggers and news aggregators thought I meant that the Eagles would only do a deal for $10 million. Mm-hmm. They're not looking to do a deal at all. Geoff had asked me a hypothetical situation. If the agent called and said, okay, would the Eagles be interested in doing a deal with Clowney if the deal was like bargain based? Well, sure, you could say it for any player, any position that they have a need with, an upgrade. Right. If it's too good to be true, but because people don't understand hypothetical speculation or real reporting, it ran. I didn't even try to correct people. I just was laughing. I'm like, God forbid the Eagles call me on this. I get enough grief from them on shit. It's just funny. I'm right. I mean, by the way, I'm right on everything. You and I have reported a lot of stuff in the last 3 months. All of it, by the way, is right. But when they don't want, when they think I'm going too strong on stuff, I'll hear about it. That's fine. But you know what? I'll never forget. I'll give you a quick story. I don't know if I know I told you this, but I don't know if I told it on our show. Many years ago, there was this running back named Mike. Was it Mike Bell?
Yeah, Mike Bell from the Saints. He was.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember the team.
And then the Eagles signed him, right?
So yeah, they signed him to an offer sheet. They denied my scoop that they had interest in him. Like that, really bad, really strong. Like I didn't know what I was talking about, and they fed it to one of the papers. I don't get into pissing matches. I don't give a shit about it. It just when I'm right, I'm right. I don't care what anyone says. I'm like, this is right. I have great sourcing on this. Go ahead and try to knock me down. So 2 weeks later, I'm at the owners' meetings. So I see someone very high in their front office that said, "Man, you're right. The Saints aren't matching it. You're correct. You got it all right." So sometimes you've been through this. I know you've been dumped on. I've been dumped on like crazy in my career. I don't know why they do it when they know that I'm correct. It's like it's just stupid, but okay.
I've been dumped on. The Dorial Green Beckham stories are still fresh in my memory.
What is wait a minute? What is it? What do you mean by that?
Well, just me saying that I felt like they were taking the wrong approach with him after they traded for him, and everybody trying to convince me that the Eagles were geniuses, the Titans were idiots, and that Dorial Green Beckham was going to be an All-Pro.
I got to be honest with you, and
I told you I was there the day. What are the chances I'd be there the day at the Titans camp? I was on my training camp tour for ESPN, and they do this trade, and I was like, oh wow, this guy's a former second-round pick. But I did notice something. He was running 4th team for them.
Yeah.
And I asked them, and they were kind of hush hush. All they would say is like, "You saw it. What else do you need to know? We didn't want him." Yeah. And Dennis Kelly, I'm like, "Oh, he stinks."
Yeah.
Well, was I wrong?
Amazingly.
but he he didn't fit their athletic profile. Dennis Kelly's not a good athlete. He's a power blocker. They wanted someone more athletic. So
hey, he catches touchdowns now, so you don't question that.
I saw that. And he got an extension for Christ's sake.
I know. Real quick back to Sanders though.
Sorry for the sides, people. Go ahead.
No, because I think this is important. I feel like the coaches and the team sometimes have a vision, right? And then reality can skew it. So let's talk ourselves through this. Okay. I'll tell you what I mean. I think you're right in that if you ask the coaches how much do you want to play Miles Sanders, they would still say, only like 60%. We don't want to, overload him, right? We want to have good backups to play, because I remember Andy Reid used to say that about Brian Westbrook too, and that's why he had
smaller. Right,
and that's why he had Correll Buckhalter. And every time Westbrook would get hurt, Buck would get in there and have really good games, like 100-yard games. And then Westbrook would get healthy and Buckhalter would disappear. And Andy would say, we still need to do this. But you know the reality of the NFL, Adam. The NFL puts out data all the time. And I think about 65% of games in the NFL are within a possession or less. Okay. Almost every single game is within a possession, right? And the Eagles don't like to do, and most teams don't really like to start running the clock out until they have a 2-possession lead in the fourth quarter.
Correct.
Well, do you know how often the Eagles, even when they were good in 2017 and won a Super Bowl, had a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter? Maybe 4 or 5 times. I don't go back and look. It's not often.
But even if you're up 7-10 and you feel like you've got it going here,
you may start taking the air out of the ball in terms of, let's say, the pass run ratio.
Yeah, but that's my point. You may, but how many times last year were they up 7-10 in the fourth?
No, well, they had the last 2 years
The offense was not like it was in 17. I mean, it just wasn't.
Right. That's what I talk about, what you want, and then how reality shapes what you really are. You get injured, you play tough teams, you have tough road games. Miles Sanders is going to, as long as he continues his development, people say like they need a third down back. No, he's actually going to be on the field third down because he can catch the damn ball and he can pick up the blitz.
That Buffalo game, folks, for those of you, and I think it's still for free. If you're a big time Eagles fan, and obviously if you're listening to the show, you are because you're an insider.
Go to NFL.com, sign up for the Game Pass, and I think it's for free right now. They're all 22 tape. Watch Sanders run routes against Buffalo. The long run for Buffalo. Watch him run routes against Minnesota. Make your mouth drop. It's just, he's so explosive. My touch total for him is 15 to 18 touches per game. He's going to catch around.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, I think he's going to catch around 3 to 4 a game. He's going to get 12, 13 carries a game, sometimes 15. And again, so you're looking at 15, 18 touches per game. This kid's special. I give him credit for handling the benching in week 2 and bouncing back. So, Now the other thing is, someone else pointed out to me, someone I really respect said to me that the other thing you can do, and the Eagles did it last year against Buffalo. Remember, Geoff, when there's a great play. And I know you remember this. I remember us talking about it on our show. It was a great play design. It was Sanders and Howard in the backfield against Buffalo, and Sanders and Howard was the up back.
That was the pony package where they had
correct.
Both guys
Yes.
in the backfield, right?
Buffalo had no idea what to do. They hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
And if you have a power back like Freeman or Hyden with Sanders, and then there's Eagles with speed on the outside, how are you defending that?
Yeah, I would love to see Hyde in that role too, because one thing about that play was that Jordan Howard threw a heck of a lead block at the line of scrimmage to help spring Miles Sanders. And Hyde is such a big guy at 200 and something pounds that
230, about 230.
Yeah, 230, Ohio State guy. He plays big, tough football. So he can throw a block the same way and spring Miles Sanders for a long run. So, I don't know if it's going to happen. I drank the Kool-Aid and put him on my 53 man when you reported it last week, but we'll see what happens.
Well, no, but here's
Hyde.
No, what you can do is
just put a veteran, one of those three, Freeman, Hyde, or McCoy. I can't. My thing on Freeman with Philly in particular is, knowing what I reported a couple weeks ago, the Eagles are looking to pay veteran minimum plus a little bit more. Again, maybe 1.5 million, like Peyton Barber got. I don't see them going much over, folks. I don't. We'll see if I'm right or not with whoever they bring in. Shady would be a great way to end his career, but I don't know what he has left. Geoff and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. Look, Boston Scott, we've talked about. He's a change-up. Could take a little bit of third down stuff, maybe on special teams returner. And then Clement has got to work his way onto the roster. I mean, he is on it now, but he's got to work his way into a role. Right. And we talked about the last show, one of the offensive preview. Folks, you need to listen to that because Geoff and I did a great job on that, explaining the way that the Eagles see it. They would like to see one of those two undrafted kids push for a role, or at the very least get an idea of what they can do.
Yeah. Real quick, at running back, do you think that they would go back down the Wendell Smallwood route if everybody else kind of didn't materialize, or
I'd just be a guess? Look, the thing is they know him.
Yeah, I don't think it would be bad.
It would not cost him anything. It would be Corey Clement got $850,000, no guaranteed money. That's what he's looking at. Where they know. Here's the thing: is he could play special teams. They know what he is.
Yep.
They know what he can do. He can catch the football. He's got size. But again, I don't know that he's dependable enough. If Sanders were to suffer an injury, can he be the guy? I don't know that.
We've said that about Wendell in the past, even when he was on the team. And there were times where he had to be the number 1 or number 2 running back. And he actually played fairly well in those games. He just was never so consistent that you could see him as your 16-game starter.
He flashed a little bit.
Yeah, he flashed. He's not going to break out of a lot of tackles. He's not going to, he doesn't have warp speed. He doesn't do anything especially great, but he is reliable when he's on the field and you ask him to carry the ball. I mean, he moves the chains.
Just one thing before we move on to our next notebook. Mm-hmm. Freeman is a better football player. He's also like a year younger.
Yeah.
But Hyde has a fairly clean injury history in recent years. Hyde's issue earlier in his career was his weight, but he did a good job. He ran for over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career.
Not explosive. He's more of a sustainer. Freeman's got better versatility. We'll see what happens here with the Eagles with this running back position.
All right, let's move on to the defensive line. We've got some news there. But first, I want to tell everybody about our friends at DraftKings. You got to download the DraftKings sports and casino app right now and use that promo code ITB to play risk-free up to $200 of casino games for your first 24 hours. That's promo code ITB to play risk-free up to $200 for your first 24 hours of casino play on DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino. You got to be 21 under oath. Pennsylvania only, in partnership with Hollywood Casino and Penn National Racecourse. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Adam, we've been talking about the defensive end a lot lately, the rotations, the backups. I do have some interesting news regarding Vinny Curry. The last time we talked about him, I mentioned that his half-brother passed away from COVID-19 about 2 weeks ago. It's hit Vinny pretty hard, as you would imagine. They were very close. His brother was the principal of Peterson Eastside High School. Do you remember the movie Lean on Me that came out in '89 with Morgan Freeman playing the principal? They called him crazy. He was playing the principal, Joe Clark.
Yes.
You remember that movie?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That is, that's the school that Vinny's half brother taught at, or was the principal at, I should say. So, needless to say, that obviously put a little bit of a damper on the family, and it slowed up the decision-making process. So what I've been told is right now they're picking up the pieces. He's ready to really start looking into his options and making a decision. The Eagles are in the mix. There's a couple of other teams that are also involved. The Falcons and the Saints are two teams that are also involved. Yeah.
So the Falcons definitely need another defensive end.
Yeah, you got to think that would be a place that might be competitive for Vinny, because they need all they don't have Vic Beasley anymore.
Correct.
No, Beasley. McKinley has not really been a great first round pick for them. He's been okay.
Correct. He needs to be better. They did bring in Dante Fowler from the Rams, is coming off a career season, but that's really it. They
need outside pass rushers. So that would make a lot of sense. The Saints, to me, Geoff, they have the NFL's best roster. They are terrific. They just got, what happened is Minnesota in the playoffs showed them a front that they had not seen before, and they shut down the Saints offense. Mm-hmm. But they could use a pass rusher off the bench. Cameron Jordan's and Marcus Davenport are their starting DNs, but they could certainly use another one. Now, to me, Vinny loves Philly. We knew that. We know he grew up an Eagles fan. Does he at this point, Geoff? You know this guy. What like is he? Because he could win a Super Bowl in New Orleans or Philly. Like, he at least should have a good chance to. What's more important to him? Because I don't see the Eagles paying him a lot of money.
Well, there's two things that are really important to him at this moment, as far as I understand. Now, if you go back and remember, after they won the Super Bowl and he was cut, he signed with Tampa Bay for a big deal. Didn't work out. 1 year. He was hurt for most of the year. Right. And then, they switched to a 3-4. He wanted out. And ever since then, I've been told that he's looked at free agency differently. He's not necessarily jumping at the most money. He's not necessarily jumping at whoever recruits him the hardest. He takes his time. If you remember last year, he went out to Cincinnati and took a visit to the Bengals before he ultimately decided to come back to the Eagles on a 1-year deal. He's of the understanding that we're in May, and so that almost any offer he gets is going to be a 1-year deal. So it's kind of hard to always just keep going somewhere else for a 1-year deal, which is why I feel, and this is just me speculating, I feel like the Eagles will eventually make the most sense for him. And he does love here. He knows he loves playing for Jim Schwartz, and he's really proud of what he accomplished last year, by the way. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And he knows that, if you put him on the field to battle against Sharif Miller and Josh Sweat and some of the other guys for playing time, he feels pretty confident because last year he was the guy in December who was getting that playing time and making the most of it. But you're right. When you look at Atlanta, that's a situation where he's also looking at who would I have to compete against? So you go to Atlanta, you're right. Dante Fowler, Tack McKinley, and then also they run a similar scheme to what the Seahawks run, that cover
Correct.
3.
Yep.
And they like those inside-outside guys that Vinny has proven that he can play. So it's a good scheme fit for him. If I had to guess, and this is me just personally guessing, Atlanta might be a good spot for scheme. New Orleans, you got Cam Hayward out there. You got the kid Davenport that they drafted.
Yep.
They have another, they got David Onyata. I think he's still there.
He's a tackle. He's a tackle.
Yeah, he's a tackle, but it might be he stays on the field, I think, for pass rush situations. So it's might be a little harder for Vinny to get on the field there.
Right.
So we'll just have to see.
I think Atlanta, in terms of playing, but he's not going to win Atlanta like when New Orleans or Philly. Okay, so here's the difference though with Vinny last year and Vinny this year, if he comes back. With Malik Jackson back, that nickel pass rush role inside is gone. Jackson's going to handle that on third down if they need him to. They don't need him to do that. So Geoff, what kind of numbers? Do you have any kind of numbers that Vinny put up last year?
I do. In fact, I have
they're interesting. I think you
a different
have
source from a coaching source. I have pass rushing statistics from last year.
Okay.
That it's not just sack numbers; it's kind of your pressure percentage, and it's broken down by edge, interior. It even has defensive backs on it because sometimes they blitz, and that's considered either an edge or an interior pressure. So one of the areas where Vinny really excelled, and we talked about this last year or a lot in December, is that they moved. If you remember, Adam, Josh Sweat kind of got the first chance when Malik Jackson got hurt to play as that inside interior.
Yes.
And he did okay, but by the end of the year, it was Vinny. So if you look at the Eagles' interior rushing stats, Vinny actually led all of the interior pass rushers in pressure percentage at 13.3. And second was Brandon Graham at 11.7. And third was Fletcher Cox at 11.4.
Wow, Fletcher was third. That tells you what kind of year he had. He was down.
Yeah, and it's not surprising that Brandon Graham is second. Remember, Brandon's another guy who moves inside a lot of times in their NASCAR package. Not as much last year as he did, say, 2 years ago, but he did after Malik got hurt, and then after Josh Sweat kind of was okay in that role. You did see Brandon move inside next to Fletcher a little bit more.
See, this is what I was saying earlier here. Mm-hmm. Vinny, if he comes back, is not going to have that interior pass rush role. It's not like Malik Jackson's going to be on. He's going to be in every nickel pass rush role. It doesn't mean he's going to be on the field
every single time.
Right.
But there's no way Curry, I don't know what his snap percentage was inside, but it would be way down compared to last year because they've got Jackson back, assuming he's healthy, and he is.
Well, that's a good point. Vinny had 75 snaps on the inside, which is a lot fewer than, say, Brandon Graham, who had 128. Right. However,
boy, did Brandon do? I mean, did Vinny do well in that 75? Holy smokes!
Yeah, he didn't play that many, so I don't know if his percentage would go down if you gave him a lot more snaps or stay the same or go up. That's an unanswered question there. But I mean, compare that to Fletcher Cox. He played 510 snaps.
Right, but my point is this though: if Vinny got 75, he didn't get anywhere close to that because again, Jackson's there, Hargrave and Cox, they all have to play. They're all making a ton of money. To me, Vinny, here's the deal, and we'll move on to that. We got one other note. Curry would be, to me, their top backup DM between Barnett and Graham.
Mm-hmm.
He's just more crafty than Sweat. We had some questions on our message board, which I could talk about here. Someone had said, how much better could Josh Sweat get? I think what you see is what you get. He's not going to get any stronger. He's long and strong already.
Mm-hmm. He's not particularly explosive. He moves fairly well for his size. He's just unbelievably long, and he's got unbelievable reach. Just He's got super long arms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to get more explosive. I don't know that he's going to get much better. Avery now, one thing before we move on, Avery was their offseason project. It was really never about last season when they made the trade. It was just too early to do this, to get him on the field. They were hoping they would have this offseason. They don't. They're not going to get him on the field until late July, early August.
Right.
Hopefully, if everything works out. So Avery is that one speed rusher. They don't have a speed rusher on the roster other than this kid. He's got to play, Geoff. So the question is with Curry, how many snaps is he going to get with them wanting to get Avery on the field? We know Sweat's got to play.
Yeah,
how many snaps can he get?
I think it's fair, and I think Vinny knows that the guys he has to compete against, he might have better numbers than, but they got draft picks behind them. They're a 4th-round pick here, a 4th-round pick there, or as you mentioned, trading a 4th-round pick for Avery. So
he's got to play.
It's not necessarily an uphill climb, but it's you constantly have to prove yourself when you're a veteran on a 1-year deal. Real quick though, I want to give you a trivia question here, right? There's 4 guys, because I just gave you the interior pass rushing stats. Let's talk about the edge pass rushing stats for the Eagles last year. 4 guys played over 150 snaps on the edges. Barnett, Graham, Sweat, and Curry. Who do you think had the highest pressure percentage of those 4?
All right. The reason why you're asking is because it's not going to be
Brandon Graham, obviously. It can't be because it's too obvious.
Sometimes obvious wins is
really? I just figured it would be Graham.
Well, just tell me who you think it is.
I'm going to take a guess.
Okay.
Take a guess.
This is the edge pressure.
Edge pressure. Josh Sweat?
Vinny Curry.
Vinny went on the outside too? Damn, he had a good year.
Let me read you this.
No wonder he's got all this interest from other teams. Holy
In 177 snaps,
Okay.
his pressure percentage was 16.9%.
And he was higher. He's actually higher on the outside. This is interesting.
Than the inside. That was his highest. That's the highest percentage on the team.
Typically, if you have fewer snaps on the inside, your percentage, if you're doing anything,
well, it's going to be up. The more ABs you get, the obviously the percentage is going to be a little bit lower. But yet his was higher on the outside. Holy smokes! Yeah. The thing about it, 2 years ago, you mentioned he had that injury with Tampa. He got a monster contract with the Bucks. Oh my God.
It was pretty good.
Oh, it was a great contract. Great contract.
I mean, for someone who had just been cut, especially.
Oh, it's phenomenal. His first year pay was phenomenal. So, wow, that's interesting. So I mentioned earlier.
Brandon Graham is second, by the way.
Was he okay? Second. Okay. I was just I had no idea.
Second at 13.8. Third was Josh Sweat. And 4th was Barnett.
It's not good. Barnett's got to do a better job. He was very pedestrian last season. Let's face it.
Yeah. No, I just thought that was really interesting.
And folks, sacks are just individual plays. Sack pressure percentages, the way that the Eagles grade and teams grade.
Yes.
That's way more important to me. It's one thing if you got 20 sacks. Okay, then you could I'm sure Aaron Donald, not only does he get big time sack numbers, he gets unbelievable pressure numbers. But you got to go past sacks to really understand what a guy does.
I think Trent Cole reminds me of that. He's a guy who never had he didn't have 15 or 16 sacks a year. He was usually between
relentless
8 to 10.5, but he collapsed the pocket every time he rushed.
He was relentless. He was not a real big guy. Andy Reid loved him because of his speed and his hands, quick hands, and unbelievable motor. The motor is what gets you. You need speed on that edge. You need the edge to shorten up the edge with speed. That's what you're looking for.
Right.
The hope is Avery can do that, but he only had a handful of snaps. So we'll see what happens. They're not, folks, I already mentioned on Clowney, just to sum it up, people didn't quite understand the conversation Geoff and I were having. So people didn't even listen. These bloggers that didn't even listen, what they were doing is they were taking what 1 or 2 bloggers or news aggregators took from our show who didn't quite understand what Geoff and I were saying. So the other 50 people who are just grabbing information, they're running with it without even listening to our show. In fact, one clown, Geoff, didn't even credit us with the information. They just
not Jadeveon Clowney.
Well,
the clown.
Yeah, but what pisses me off is folks, get it right. At least take the quotes. If you're gonna misquote me,
would explain it all.
Yes, I mean it just annoys me. But I'm sick of chasing people. I had enough to deal with in my life, But we appreciate the interest, but please at least get it right. Yes. The Eagles from day one have never been really interested in Clowney, but every player that could be an upgrade, if an agent comes with hat in hand and said, "Hey, we take my player for X amount," of course they're going to listen.
Yes,
good job.
Absolutely. It'd be crazy not to.
Yeah, thank you.
Everson Griffin at all a possibility?
Now, here's the thing with Griffin. He's an older player, very good player, by the way.
Right.
He's in his 30s. He opted out of his contract, which was enormous. He knew he wasn't going to get the money. The Vikings have never said they didn't want him back, but the fact of the matter is he wants to make a certain amount of money. The money's not there yet. He's an older player. The Eagles are not really looking to do something like that. They want to see how we mentioned Avery. They already know about Sweat. And by the way, you didn't even mention Sharif Miller. They want to see Sharif Miller to go on the field last season. He's a fourth round pick. They want to see these guys get on the field.
Yeah, you know me. I'm a proponent. You drafted guys. You got to figure it out. You got to play them at some point and let them prove to you that they can't play.
Yeah, you've been the sane one between you and I. I'm a little bit try to win the Super Bowl each year, but I do know that the way personnel people think, they want to see the guys that they drafted or traded for, as you said, with Avery,
get them on the field and see what happens.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get into some of Doug Peterson's comments in his Zoom press conference. Real quick, just want to tell everybody, make sure you're checking out phlsportsnation.com. They are a website that is for the fans, by the fans. I mean, they are enhancing the fan experience with all of their great coverage of the Eagles, the Sixers, the Flyers, and the Phillies. Oh, hopefully we'll get started.
They do a great job. And by the way, they had some great interviews with
they did.
A couple Eagles players, Jeff, that I
saw that.
Yeah,
they're
good
doing
job
a
by those guys.
Fantastic job.
They do a great job. Yeah, we appreciate their help. Thank you.
Definitely. So make sure you check them out, phlsportsnation.com. And right now is a good time to pause for another word from our great sponsors. All right, Adam. Doug Peterson had a Zoom press conference recently.
Here we go.
And, I think his studio is better than yours. He's got a couple Lombardi trophies.
He does have a really cool one. Holy smokes! Now
I know.
Look,
right?
I could expand it, but
you ain't got the Lombardis.
Maybe I'll do one of the shows off my phone because I have an HD phone anyway. It's a
Google Pixel 3 XL. Picture's beautiful. And I'll take a view, but Doug Peterson's got glass, and I was like, "This is too beautiful. Good." Yeah, it is. Yeah, good job.
Like a Super Bowl champion head coach that he is. I think you and I both said after we watched it, it was like, okay. I mean, he said a couple of things, but nothing earth shattering. Obviously, he went into
there's some buts.
Yeah, the Andre Dillard situation, and depending on how you want to interpret it, he certainly gave his stamp of approval on May 20th. For Andre Dillard as a starting left tackle on May 20th.
Yeah, but here's answer this question for me.
Mm-hmm.
You've attended and analyzed and viewed hundreds of press conferences in your career. If a team didn't want a player back, just say it. Just say Andre Dillard's our starting left tackle. If Jason wants to come back, he's a backup. Say it.
Right.
I don't understand why I don't with this cat and mouse game.
Well, is he a backup though? If Jason Peters comes back, is he a backup? That's where I'm lost on it because I feel like
I don't know either, but
I don't know.
Yeah, I said it on our last show when we were talking. Well, the show we were talking about offense 2 shows ago. It's the only thing with the Eagles offense. I can't get anyone to give me a straight answer. I keep hearing from people, okay, we want him to be our left tackle, Andre Dillard. Then say it. What's the issue? And by the way, let me add this because I know people have been wondering, so I found out. Andre Dillard's weight's where it's supposed to be. It's somewhere between whatever his prescribed weight is. Let's say it's 310 to 315. He's in that range. So his weight is where it's supposed to be. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Again, and we're going to get into this in a second, he's not on grass, Mr. Mosher.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk about the grass time. But before we do that, I'm trying to work it out in my head, like how this could be happening where we get such mixed messages or uncertainty. And to me, there's a and this is me speculating and trying to analyze, not reporting, right?
Okay.
I think the Eagles are obviously, and Doug said it, they're talking to Jason Peters. So obviously conversations are happening. I imagine that Jason Peters doesn't want to come back and be a backup, but B, he wants to make starting left tackle money. Maybe not elite left tackle money anymore, but some semblance of starting left tackle money. And I don't know that the Eagles are willing to do that. But I don't know that Jason's willing to, at the end of the day, say, fine, I'm going to retire if you don't, or go play somewhere else. So it seems like you have contrasting forces here. And the Eagles are saying, look, Andre Dillard's our left tackle then.
I know it's a unique situation. You're talking about a
38-year-old will be a Hall of Famer, probably first ballot, if not second time he gets a chance to do it in 5, if this is his last year, 5 years after that. But the fact of the matter is they drafted a guy to replace him who's ready to go. We know for folks who are new to our show, we had outlined on previous shows. You could go to Apple or any podcast platform. You can see all of our our older shows, even our most recent shows. We talked about the issues that with Dillard functional strength, needed to really get ready mentally to be the guy. There were some issues with it's been outlined. There's some great reporting locally. Ruben Frank wrote a great piece for NBCSports.com about some of the challenges of Dillard. But the fact of the matter is, this is the guy. Let him be the guy. I'm with you, Mosher. You've convinced me. Move forward. Just it's okay. You put that press release out there saying goodbye to him. I get you're still talking. Hell, folks, they met with Jason Peters' agent at the combine face to face. Okay, you've kept in touch. If Dillard's the guy, say it. Jason wants to come back. He's a backup. That's it.
Do you think at all it's about money?
Maybe. I know people suggested. People have asked me, is it because of the owner? Well, we know that Jason is very close to Jeffrey Lurie. What the hell does that have to do with it?
I don't know.
It has to do with it. Jeffrey's got to stay the hell out of it. I don't know if I have not been told that it's a major. I know it's part of it, but there are 5 or 6 reasons why you bring Jason Peters back. A, you don't think Andre Dillard's ready. Okay, obviously that's a major part of it. If Peters comes back, they're telling you they're giving the answers to the test. If Peters is coming back, they don't think Dillard's ready. If he's not, they think Dillard's ready. Is Jeffrey's relationship with Jason part of it? Yeah, but Jeffrey knows he's on this team for 3 decades almost. He knows that when you spend a first-round pick, the guy's playing. That's it.
Yeah. I wonder if some of it is Jason doesn't want to be in training camp, sweating it out for 3 weeks. Like I'll call you.
I hadn't thought of that.
Because we've seen that before.
Yeah,
we've seen that before.
And Doug takes care of him. He's done a great job of, the first thing Doug told their front office was that he was going to treat the players differently than Chip Kelly did. There would be no Tuesday practice. And Jason had major issues with Chip and the practice schedule. Well, Doug told people privately, I'm going to take care of this guy. And he did. Jason loves him. And Jason's highly respected and the players love him. But again, you're not getting younger. You're not getting – okay, I'm not saying that Jason Peters wouldn't be better than Andre Dillard for this season. Jason Peters had a good season, pretty solid.
Yeah. But
he also doesn't stay on the field all the time because of injury.
I'm with you. You know how it is. We'll see. I have a sneaky suspicion what's going to happen is
Go ahead.
You're not going to see Jason Peters anytime soon.
Okay.
You're going to see training camp happen. Dillard's going to be your left tackle at training camp. He's going to play in the first 2 preseason games. And if he plays really well, you're not going to hear about Jason Peters. If all of a sudden you're seeing bad practices and some uncertainty there, you're going to see Jason Peters. And they'll pass it off as, well, it's a great opportunity for Jason to come back, and he wanted to. And Andre got a little nicked up in that last game, yada, yada. And what God, we've seen the Eagles for years. We know how they work. That's how these things go.
But I'll tell you what, man, being a training camp.
And some of the days when Dillard looked really good, I was like, holy bleep. Wow. Like, you don't see left feet like that. Left feet. You don't see feet on the left tackle like that. Like you just don't see it like that?
No, it's special.
So
the footwork is special.
Just move on. Come on.
Do you remember how much struggle Andy Reid had when he had to bench Stacey Andrews?
Oh,
you remember how he just had to? He's got this plant leg thing. He kept talking about how
bad though. No, but Geoff, you were there then.
He had the ACL reconstruction.
Yeah, but I don't think the ACL was the issue. I think he just wasn't playing very well.
He was
I don't know if it was
he was bad.
Planting. Yeah, he was playing horribly.
In fact, wait. Ask a question. Did he play in the regular season or was it just the preseason?
He played in the regular season.
Did he? Okay, because I know
he played, I think, half the year until they finally benched him. I mean, they had
to. You have to remember this Stacey
Andrews and Sean Andrews situation.
Oh,
there were so many rumors about they brought Stacey in because to help Sean out because the brothers. Sean Andrews is an unbelievably gifted guard like you've never seen before, but he had other challenges. That's it.
All right, so regardless with the Stacey and the Sean Andrews thing, we'll see what happens with Dillard and Peters. You mentioned grass time. Doug talked about it. Obviously, that influences the fact that nobody's on the grass and practicing right now. Adam really hurts newcomers, really hurts rookies. And so when you look at the quarterback situation,
second-year players, brother, second-year players too. Big.
Yeah, that's true. They don't get a chance to make that big jump.
Yep.
And it's funny because we were just talking about Dillard. But Sudfeld right now, you would think would have the leg up on Jalen Hurts. To me, it's not about Sudfeld versus Hurts. To me, it's about Sudfeld versus do the Eagles go out and get a veteran? Do they bring Josh McCown?
100%. We're going to know in June. That was what I was told when he had the surgery to reattach his hamstring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to make this clear because if people quote me, need to get it correct. This is not a report. This is an opinion, okay? I probably need to do a better job of that. I would not put a high percentage of Josh coming back. They love Josh. They would have hired him as a coach probably at some point in February or March or something if he would have made a decision whether he wanted to be a coach right now or not a player. But you mentioned Nate Sudfeld. Nate was basically told, hey, I'm going to be able to compete for the number 2 job. They never told him he was going to be the number 2 quarterback is what was my understanding. He said he'd be able to compete for it. We reported, 6 weeks ago, the Eagles wanted to sign Joe Flacco, but they were not comfortable because they knew he had to have surgery. So they backed away. And that was really it. I don't know if any other veteran quarterbacks they're looking at. Like you had mentioned, I love the name Trevor Siemian. I've not heard his name attached to the Eagles. I mean, he's healthy. I mean, I know he got hurt last year, but he's fine.
Matt Moore is still out there.
Matt Moore
he played nicely.
Yeah, Matt Moore was talked out of retirement, did an unbelievable job considering. I don't know if Matt still wants to play. That talking to someone close to him, I don't know that Matt still wants to play. But that's it. So to me, Sudfeld's this is his 4th year. It's almost hard to understand, but it is.
Right.
Why do you keep bringing him back? Why bring the guy back if you don't have enough confidence in him to be a number 2?
Hey, you're a self-proclaimed quarterback factory. You've had the guy for 4 years. If you're a factory and you've had him for 4 years, time to see the results of that work.
Yes,
that's what
he's got. I know last year in the offseason he didn't perform well. Then he broke his wrist.
Right.
But he's got a great arm. He's big. He moves way better than you think. They've had this guy for 4 years. Let him be the 2. Come on.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up with Peterson's comments about the offense is not going to change a whole lot. Remember, it's the offense that won a Super Bowl. Mike Gill and Hunter Brody asked me about it today on 97.3 ESPN. And I said, you don't bring in 3 guys, all who are considered ideas guys, bring them into your offense, and then it's not noticeable any change to the naked eye. I think he was just trying to kind of quell any kind of, discussion of what could be with the new. Plus, he's not trying to give anything away from an advantageous standpoint. But you and I both talked about Rich Scangarello more so than others because of what he might bring to the run game and how Doug Peterson, even when the Eagles are winning, their run formations tend to be a little bit more vanilla and basic compared to what we see around the league with misdirection and pre-snap motion that you saw from, say, Kyle Shanahan, which is where which is the tree that Scangarello comes
from. The Niners had the most pre-snap motion this past season.
Yeah.
They're about deception and disguise and space creation. Kyle Shannon's incredible at it. The most sophisticated run game is Baltimore's, but San Francisco is very close. You saw what Raheem Mosher, of all people, did against Green Bay in the playoffs. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Raheem Mosher, former Eagle. It's crazy. So, yeah, Scangarello will bring that in. He comes in from a West Coast offensive background.
Right.
They're bringing ideas, and the couple of the coaches who've worked for Doug have told me, Doug loves idea guys. What do you got for me? What are you thinking here? And he seeks it out. He wants it, and that's how you become a better coach, and that's how you become a better offense. No better situation in 2017.
Do you think the old staff just was not fresh with ideas? Like the guys.
When you say old staff, what do you mean?
Well, Mike Rowe and Carson Walsh, and do you think that they were just clearly looking for something that's a little bit more new wave?
I would say this: the reviews that the people who reviewed their tape gave the final quarter of the season was like really strong, despite all the injuries they had at running back, particularly a wide receiver. Like they did a really good job, but they're looking for it to be more modernized, to bring in a lot of different stuff. Andrew Briner's another guy who's a former offensive coordinator in college football. Bring his stuff in.
Spread guy, yeah.
Yeah, you bring his stuff in, Scangarello stuff in, Marty Morningweg.
He obviously worked with Michael Vick, Steve Young in San Francisco,
Garcia,
Jeff Garcia, Donovan, Michael Vick. You bring all these minds in, you're going to have different ideas. It's not that the offense is going to change. You're going to do some things you have not been doing before, or a different way to do it.
Mhm.
That's what Jeffrey Lurie from I believe wanted, because we know it's not a secret. It's been written about, speculated about, reported. The owner got involved in the coaching changes, and he's the one who started it. So that's kind of what he's looking for, and that's, I think, more creativity, as you said, and that's it.
All right, we're gonna do that coaching staff,
That's gonna be fun.
podcast
Yeah,
down the road. So I don't
got a
want to
lot
talk
of
too much
information on
about
that.
it,
Yeah,
but
I got a lot on that.
we're gonna get into kind of their individual roles and what they really bring to the table.
Yep.
So I look forward to doing that with you. And that's gonna do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube, Sports Talk with Broads. Check out his podcast that he does with former Villanova basketball star Darrell Reynolds. It's called Processed. It's fantastic. You got to check it out. And also check out Hunter on Twitter at Broads81. And if you didn't know, me, Hunter, and Phillies expert Frank Close do the Powder Blue podcast. And we've been really enjoying doing that Phillies podcast. So check out the Powder Blue podcast.
Have you done a roster?
Also,
have you done a roster breakdown yet?
No, we have not done our projection.
You need to. I need to
yet.
hear this. I need to hear it. Okay. Because
we haven't done an examination of the new coaching staff either.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really, oh man, dude, you got so much content to put out.
Yeah,
on,
we
man.
got.
Let's go.
We're waiting for some baseball to come back for that.
And check me out, my friend John Hansen of FantasyPoints.com. He just got back in business.
Nice.
He's him and Matthew Berry, the top fantasy guys in the world, and I'm actually a contributor to his company. And here's a little. Well, I haven't asked John this, but I could do it because I know he'll do it. We're gonna get John doing this. We're gonna do one show devoted to fantasy. Probably going to do it in June. John is a stud. John and I have done this fantasy show together for 17 years on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. We absolutely crank on each other. Like, you can't believe, some people think we're not friends. No, we're very close, but we love picking on each other. It's really relentless. I
enjoyed the clip of you and him in the league. I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah. It's 10 years ago, by the way. Yeah, 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Oh, by the way, I write about that on InsideTheBirds.com in our mailbag, because someone asked me. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And I detail the whole thing. The great Geoff Schaefer and his wife Jackie, who are the co-creators, I give you a play-by-play of what happened during that week. It's actually really cool. And the crazy thing is, the Phillies were staying at my hotel that day. Crazy.
That's amazing.
And we went to a Phillies game that night.
And that was what, 2019?
10.
2010.
2010. Yeah,
right.
I was working for Fox Sports then. Yeah, really cool.
That's right.
Really cool.
Awesome. Well, as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.